Thousands gathering in Rome today to pay their respects to Pope Francis, whose tomb now sits in the St. Mary Major Basilica. Doors opened at 7 a.m. local time, just one day after he was laid to rest. The 9 days of mourning are now officially underway after more than 400,000 people joined world leaders yesterday for a funeral mass honoring the late pontiff. Now all eyes turn to the future of the Catholic Church and the beginning of the conclave. Italian media reports suggest a start date could be set as soon as tomorrow at the Cardinal General Congregation, bringing us one step closer to naming Pope Francis's successor. And this morning, an American journalist in Vatican City making headlines after being chosen to deliver the first reading at Pope Francis's funeral.
Truly, I understand that God shows no partiality. But in every nation, anyone who fears him and does what is right is acceptable to him. To him, all the prophets bear witness that everyone who believes in him receives forgiveness of sins through his name.
That Vatican News reporter, Kielce Gussie, joins us now. Kielce, thank you so much for joining us this morning. So what was that like?
Honestly, it was a huge blessing. It was a shock. It was a surprise. I wasn't expecting it. I found out on Wednesday that I would be reading. And so then it was just very much thinking about how to prepare and get ready for the event. How did you first learn that you were going to be asked to do that? Well, my boss received a call because they were looking for someone to read in English, and she thought of me. And of course, you can't say no to an opportunity like that. And so it took me by surprise at first, but then I agreed.
No, I would think not. You really can't. Were you nervous?
I have to say I was nervous leading up to the moment I got to the ambo. And then at that point, it's just you take a breath, you look out, and you say, okay, I know how to read. I'll just read.
Yeah, but reading in front of a crowd like that at a moment like that is not just like reading something normally. How did you prepare before you went out there?
Well, we actually had a practice the day before, and we practiced again like a couple of hours before the mass started, and it was just to get us set up and ready. But then I had also practiced a couple times before at home, both that morning and the day before.
What was the atmosphere like with those massive crowds?
Yeah, honestly, it was overwhelming in a sense because you look at, and again, you saw thousands and thousands of people. I mean, from the point of where the altar was all the way back to Casa San Angelo, which is a pretty far distance.
Yeah.
And you could feel that it was very solemn, but it was also full of a lot of love.
Yeah. So you had to have said a prayer to yourself as you're walking out there. What was the prayer you said to yourself when you went out there? Honestly,
there was a lot of prayers that were said. I asked my parents for prayers, and people here in Rome were praying. But I remember saying, okay, I'm doing this to, honor Pope Francis, to say goodbye to Pope Francis. So I just said, okay, Our Lady, you got to help me, and this is for you, Pope Francis.
Well, it is, it's about something else. So if you can sort of remove yourself from it, that probably makes it a little bit easier to do. But
Sure.
Still, just an extraordinary thing. Tell me this: the day after the funeral, what is Rome like today? The day after all of that?
Yeah, obviously it's a little bit less full in the sense of there's not as many people in the square. But I think, as you also mentioned before, people are still flocking to the tomb to see where Pope Francis will be buried or where he is buried. And so there's still a sense of memory and people thinking about the 12 years that he had. I've seen a lot of stores with signs and pictures of Pope Francis honoring him. So there's still a lot of people that are talking about Pope Francis.
Well, Kielce Gussie, you did a fantastic job, and you made America proud. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.